welcome to FusionPit Presents. I'm Alec.
And I'm Jordan.
And this week we went down to Chico to talk to Tommy of Criminal Wave, Gorilla Monsoon, and a list of other bands. He's very prominent in the punk hardcore scene of Northern California. So, without further ado,
all right,
here it
so
comes.
Tommy, I know you're in a lot of bands.
Yeah.
It's not just Criminal Wave, so why don't we just start out opening with what bands you are in?
All right. Let's see. I'm in Criminal Wave. That's the band I front. Outside Looking In. That's band I play bass in. My friend Miles fronts it. And then let's see. Gorilla Monsoon. I play guitar in that band. Strange Ones. I play guitar and front that band. Mr. Bang. I play drums in. Let's see. There's Gimp Mask, which is a project I'm starting with my friend Sawyer, and I'm going to play drums in that. And then I want to say there's one more, but I'm spacing it right now. Oh yeah, and then I'm also in in kind of like a more like folky punk band in the area called Second Best. I just joined as kind of like a half fill-in, half serious drummer in that band. So yeah.
So I'm actually going to ask you about a Gorilla Monsoon project you did.
Okay.
A split you did with Vex.
Oh yeah.
So do you want to give us maybe a little backstory on that?
Yeah, Vexed is pretty much homies that we've had from Reading forever, because me and Josh, the frontman of Gorilla Monsoon, and as well as the drummer of Gorilla Monsoon, Kari, we all grew up in Reading. And so Isabella, the front person of Vexed, and Ethan, the guitarist, we all kind of grew up in the same scene together, so we've been good friends with them forever. And so Gorilla Monsoon's been around for a couple, maybe even a few years now, but when Vex came around and they started playing, I think about a year ago, we just, we hung out all the time and we booked them shows. Actually, I think they played more Chico shows. They've played more Chico shows than Reading shows at this point. And so we just decided, hey, like we should do a split. And so that's what we did. And the funny thing is, I actually don't play on that because I was super sick and we had to cancel that recording like one time already. So we rescheduled it. And I was sicker than hell, and I'm like, dude, just record it without me. So the guitar track on there isn't me, but I'm like the guitarist of that band. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory of it.
Also, with Gorilla Monsoon and a lot of your other, actually most of your projects, I've noticed it's a more do-it-yourself tape cassette, which is different around here because most people are releasing CDs. So explain, like, what was the inspiration behind that cassette choice?
Well, we always I don't know, when you go to a show and someone just hands you a CD with some like marker on it, that's cool, but it's like you don't really want to pay for that. You don't want to pay for like a CD because it's at this point in the digital age. I think the whole like tape culture thing that is arising, not just with us, but like in like DIY hardcore, like around in general, like is kind of in a reaction to the whole like MP3 thing that's going on. But a lot of bands, they don't have enough money to buy put out records like 7 inches or anything like that. So basically a tape is just a poor man's EP or full length, depending on what you want to do. You can put an insert in it, you can have your lyrics, you can do stickers, whatever you want, and it's a physical thing that you get, and the quality is really, really good if you do it right. And we used to do all of our tapes. Miles, the dude behind Xerox Records, and also like I'm in bands with him too. He used to like do the tape duplication himself, but now he actually sends it into a plant. So that's kind of it's like really good quality. It's an experience, and when you buy it, you're like, man, this is like something that I have, and you can collect it. Like tapes are really coming back, not just with us, but like hardcore in general. Like everyone's putting out tapes now.
So let's go to that. I myself, I'm not necessarily new to the hardcore scene, but it hasn't been a forefront in most of my inspiration.
For sure, yeah, totally.
And like with Jordan, he's new to it. So how would you describe the hardcore scene, the punk scene?
In like as a whole or in this area?
In this area.
Okay, I would say like what's unique about this area is that like punk and hardcore here as a history has struggled in a way, in that it's like there'll be a venue for 6 months, then the venue will shut down, and then like some kids will scramble, and then we'll start having shows in the park. Then the cops will start busting those, so then they'll start doing house shows, or it turns to winter and it's so cold in the park that you can't play because your hands are freezing. But like but see, the thing with that is that the kids up here are different than the kids down in the Bay, because the kids in the Bay, they have Gilman and these venues that have been around forever that are just handed to them. So being a punk down there, it's like you're, you know, somebody who's in hardcore, you don't really have to worry about anything because everything's kind of taken care of for you. And I'm not saying that there aren't people down there with a tremendously great work ethic, but kids up here, they really appreciate what they have. And so the punk and hardcore scene up here is really based in like the 80s, like hardcore punk sound. There's not as much of a like separation between hardcore and punk that, you know, exists in other bigger areas, because again, it's like if there's a show happening, it's like, oh, are you going to the show? It's not like, oh, you know, there's like a thrash show tonight, then there's like a tough guy hardcore show tomorrow, and then there's like a punk show the day after. It's like, no, it's like, this is the show. And you know, I would say it's tremendously united, especially with the kids and the all ages scene, like the DIY scene around here, like, and you know, with what we're doing with Jefferson Crew, like, you know, like even in Ashland and Eureka, there's kids who are like watching what everybody else is doing, supporting each other's bands, coming out to shows. Like my friend Bryce will drive all the way when she, you know, she has like a long weekend or something. She'll drive all the way from Humboldt to hang out in Chico for a couple days and catch a show or two. And like there's shows all the time. Like I would say during summertime it picks up usually to like once a week, but at least like 2 times a month there's a kick-ass show in this area that you can catch. Right now it's a little bit more Chico-centric because Reading lacks all ages venues, but kids are starting to open their houses up, and the park, you know, now that it's getting warmer with summertime, that's starting to open up a little bit more too. But tremendously united, everyone looks out and takes care of each other. You know, no racism, no sexism or homophobia. Like everyone's really like, you know, about that and about helping each other out, and it's cool. It's probably, you know, and bands will come and play and they'll be like, man, this is one of the best scenes like on the West Coast for DIY stuff. You know, if the show's great, like, which most of the time they are, it's awesome. Like it's definitely something to jump into and have a good time.
Alright, so I do have to ask, earlier you were talking about all these different instruments that you play for these bands that you're in. How many instruments can you legitimately play?
Okay, well, like I mentioned, like I can't play an individual instrument to like mastery. Like I can't shred anything, but I'm good enough to play them in like hardcore punk bands, and it's it's let's see, drums, guitar, bass, guitar. You know, I can like front. I don't know if that counts like vocals. I more yell than sing, but I'm learning how to play piano in school, and I'm also playing upright bass. So I guess that's like 6.
So I do have to ask, what pushes you to want to play in all these like different bands and everything? Because to me personally, I think that's difficult, let alone trying to remember the different instruments and the different songs for the different bands.
Yeah.
So what really pushes you to want to open it up to a bunch of different bands?
That's a really good question. You know, it's just in my blood. Like when, you know, like I mentioned, like growing up in a small town and being bored all the time and not being able to play music. It's like I feel like that really like that pushed me to want to, you know, continue to go and grow, and also, you know, just like having the scene, being able to have a band hit me up and be like, oh yeah, I can get a band on that, you know, no problem. Like I can play that show easily. And I think it's just like that drive, like having that in my blood, that want to be producing and be making art and expressing myself in multiple different ways. Because like every band that I'm in is a different expression of my personality. Like Criminal Wave, like when I front that band, it's a lot of the lyrical themes like have to do with like isolation and anxiety and depression, and it's these things that everybody, you know, has to deal with at one point or another, but it's that way for me to get like angry about it and project it. But my other band, Strange Ones, which is like a surf band too, but it's like totally on the other side of like, it's more in like that kind of 60s pop, like garage rock, you know, tradition of just like, you know, also like, you know, I like singing about girls and stuff, you know, like, so I think it's just like being able to have multiple like facets of my personality to be able to come out. And it's like what I do, you know, like sometimes I've thought a couple times like, oh, you know, maybe I should tone this down, maybe I should like quit a band, or, you know, like tone it down on the projects I'm starting. But then I thought, you know, it's like my true passion is music, and that's just what I'm gonna follow, you know.
Yeah, it's not only a way of life, but it sounds like for you it's a way of expressing yourself in different ways and using it not only as an art form but more like an outlet.
Oh yeah, totally. No, it is an outlet. Like I was talking to Sawyer, the drummer of Criminal Wave, and like he's in a million other bands in town too. And he was talking about it. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, I used to like have huge, like really bad like depression and anxiety, like. And he's like, man, like playing in all these bands, it's almost like I don't anymore. It is that outlet, and it's that way to not feel, or it's a way to express yourselves that way you don't stew in those things. You get them out. They're not just in your head. It totally is an outlet. Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure with all the different bands that you're in, everyone would probably feel the same way because they're not all, hey, it's my project, this is what I want,
yeah,
this is how it's going to go. No, they're in it for the music aspect and the art.
Yeah, and the community too. Like so much of the community, like being able to have a place to go, especially in Chico where it's like just bars, like having a place for kids to go and feel safe and like, and not feel, especially like young girls and stuff, dude. Like this town is rough and it's really shitty as far as that kind of stuff goes. And like for them to be able to come to like, our house where there's like a punk show going on and then feel totally safe, and their parents are like totally cool dropping them off there because they know we're good people and that we're gonna look out for each other. Like that is huge. Yeah, like totally it is that outlet, and then the community of everybody getting together and being like, we share this common need for this outlet. It's great. Like and you can find that in any music, but we just happen to like hardcore.
It's a way of life.
Yeah.
I don't know how to word this the right way, but Alex told me that you've put on shows, not only performing wise, but you actually put together a big like concert kind of thing.
Yeah.
How big of a struggle was it for you? Because you told us that you also go to school, but you also have a bunch of bands at the same time. So how long did it really take you to throw this together, and how quickly was the community like to support you like that?
Well, the fest we did, I do shows all the time, like just throwing them like at our house, at different venues in town, and that can be kind of difficult because you get your wires crossed and like, oh, this band wanted to come here, but I have this project due, like shit, like it can get kind of hectic. But as far as the Jefferson Fest went, that's what you're referencing, right? Like the fest we threw, that honestly was more Miles than anything, and he's even busier than me because he has a girlfriend. But I can say that when he first had the idea of it, he came to me, he's like, hey man, we should throw a fest that's just bands from the would-be Jefferson State area. So you got like Southern Oregon, like Medford and Ashland, Humboldt, like Eureka, Redding, Chico, and any of the little, like there's Mount Shasta was there, like like all these different areas that represent the kind of rural punk scene, and he's like, yo, let's throw this little fest, let's have a good show or whatever. And then he made the event page for it, and we were gonna have it at the MLK Center in Redding, but it blew up. Like the responses and the community coming out and being like, no, like we will support this, we have this band, let us play. Like it blew up from a small thing to like a really big thing, like super fast. So I would say that I think it's because people, the similar reasons why I just like delved into music so much is because like punks and like hardcore kids and stuff from like all these outlying areas, it's like when somebody does something and they they're like, oh, somebody's doing something here, like this isn't the Bay where there's stuff going on all the time, or LA or anything. It's like somebody's doing something, like we got to get behind it, and so you really see the community like come out of the woodwork. And there was kids like from Eureka and like all kinds of just weird areas, but that was what we wanted. Like we didn't want just like Chico and Redding. We wanted like the punk from like Eureka who thought he was the only one in like thousands of miles who listened to music he did, and who was into the things that they were into, like to see a flyer somewhere and just be like, holy shit, this is going on, like I got to get into it, and bring their friends, and so it totally was like way better than we thought it would turn out. Like definitely, I mean, it was a little stressful printing out flyers and flyering so much for it, but it turned out great. And we had friends not even from the area. We had friends come all the way from San Diego to come and hang out and see it. Like it was rad. Yeah.
So I do have to ask, are you guys coming up with another festival or big concert where you want more bands, and are you focusing more on the heavy, I want to say heavy metal or punk? Correct me if I'm wrong. Or are you gonna want more different genres in it?
That's that's a really good question. We we kind of like, just because we're all punks, like we're all into punk. We're probably gonna lean more punk for things, but like getting like thrash bands would be sick. Like getting some sick metal bands, if they have the right mentality about it, it'd be rad to get them on. Like, and we actually the next plan is there's been talk. I don't want to like confirm it and say, oh, it's definitely happening, but it seems very likely that there will be another Jefferson Fest next year. And then this was that, like the one we just got done throwing. That was kind of a tester, kind of a test fest, if you will, to see if we maybe want to start throw a whole West Coast fest where we have bands from up and down the West Coast come and play, because we have a lot of friends who are super down with what we're doing on the West Coast, and it would be rad to be able to bring them all together. And as it stands, as far as hardcore and punk goes, there's not a lot of really good West Coast fests going on. There's like Olympia Hardcore, which is going down in August, which is sick, and that was kind of born out of like another fest that they were doing there. But there used to be Sync with Cali Fest, and it was just like a California fest and stuff. But we really think that we could pick up the slack. I mean, this area is perfect. It's like right in the middle of the West Coast, like Oregon and Washington, and then like all of California, and even maybe Mexico too. Like, and because we have contacts in Mexico, so it would be really cool. Like, that's kind of the next step, I guess, is to just maybe just blow it up and just keep pushing everything we do. Just like always push it, always try and grow it, get more bands, maybe turn it into a 2-day thing, like where people can just crash in Anderson or whatever, and like, or because that venue worked out really well for what we wanted to do. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. It would be cool. Like, I've heard out of Canada, there's like within the DIY hardcore realm, there's starting to be like thrash metal bands coming out of there now. That they have like the DIY like ethic, and they're like, they play in like at like hardcore shows, but they're like crossover thrash kids who are like really gnarly. So I mean, that would be sick. Like maybe diversify a little bit. Like if people are down, like we don't judge like at all. People like, we all have like such big music interests. Like, I mean, we're all like punks, so we listen to punk and hardcore, but like, and that's what we do. But I'm into like new wave, and like I was saying earlier, like I like gospel, I like blues, I like jazz, I play jazz, like I like, there's so much music, and I feel like the underlying current of it can be similar. I feel like the same thing that made the blues so sick when like in like the 30s through the 60s is that like, and then rock and roll in like the 50s and the 60s, I feel like that's the same energy that makes punk rad. It's not just like that phenomena, that feeling that you get when you go to a show and it's awesome, and you're like, you feel it in the pit of your gut that it's something big, it's something more than just you, and you have that passion for it. Like, that's not just in punk, man, that can be in anything. And like, as long as people have that energy behind it, like I'm sure we'd be down.
So I'm gonna actually go into some stereotypes that often gets thrown at punks. Like, metal has its own stereotypes.
Oh, totally.
Rap has its own everything. So let's talk about some of that. What do you think some of the biggest negative stereotypes of punk and how it affects the community in general?
Well, I mean, obviously, like, there's the whole thing. It's like, I mean, punk just, when you think of punks, it's like, and I mean, it's been going around since the 80s. I think it's a little bit less bad now. Like stereotypes are a little less bad because everybody has colored hair now. So it's like, you don't see somebody with colored hair and like, or it's such a shock to you, or like short hair. But I mean, like the whole idea of being violent or just being drunk and shitty all the time, or being like really nihilistic. I feel like that's a stereotype, but like, we pretty much most punks I know personally, or that I take the time to like talk to or hang out with, totally defeat all of those. Like, a lot of them are straight edge. They don't drink or do drugs or smoke or anything. Like, they're just super cool people, like really nice, not violent at all. I mean, unless, like somebody was like trying to fight him or something, like, but I mean, that's anybody would defend themselves in a situation, like that. But, even some of my friends, like my friend Josh, he's Hare Krishna. He's a very spiritual dude, and I'm a Buddhist. Like, I'm really spiritual. My friend Gabe, who's like one of the most hardcore dudes I know from the Bay. He's like you know, a Buddhist, like, and I feel like, you know, with, you know, there's a lot of the stereotypes too with skaters, and like skate movement, and Bob Bucklew are, in the area are doing a really cool like job with that. But it's like, you know, because a lot of us skate too, so I mean there's that looped in. It's like vandals and, you know, just trying to screw things up, or just being like dickheads, you know, like not being smart, not being educated or intelligent. Most of the punks I know are extremely intelligent. They know what they're talking about. You know, if they're anarchists, they're not just like gonna spray paint an anarchy sign on something. They know like what they're talking about. They know about the politics behind it. And so I think it's like, I feel like for punks it's a little less bad now, because it's like, you know, people see a punk, you know, like his spiky hair, or, you know, her spiky hair or whatever, and they're like a little bit more now like, oh, like that's kind of cute, whatever. Oh, like I like your hair, can I touch it? You know, like I got more of that when I had like long hair. But I feel like being hardcore like has a little bit more of a connotation to it, just because it's, you know, like shorter hair, like it's more of like a militant look, and like, so I think generally people might think that you're like a new wave fascist or something, but, you know, quite the opposite. Like I'm extremely anti-fascist, like extremely anti-racist. And so I think it's like, you know, it's one of those things where it varies person to person. But I haven't actually gotten too much shit like for when I was really punk, when I had like blue hair and stuff. You know, I get looks sometimes, but nothing too bad.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you kind of what I like to ask a lot of metalheads. What is your definition of a true punk band and kind of a poser punk band?
It's the ethic. You know, it's like half that, like, I don't know. I've seen so many bands who, like, punk bands who, like, only play bars, and when they play, they just half-ass it, and they're boring, and they don't care, and they just don't do anything cool, and they just stand there, and they're like, all right, you know, here's our next song. They play for way too fucking long, and, like, then when they're done, they leave, and they don't watch any of the other bands. Like, that is, to me, that is being a poser. Like, I don't care, like, how big you are, like, you know, it doesn't, like, be, like, bands who are huge and make money off their music, like, unless they change the sound of their music for making money, like, they're not posers as far as I'm concerned. It's the bands that don't watch other bands, it's the bands that don't support their local scene, they don't watch or really contribute anything. And then too, it's like I was talking about earlier with that feeling, that urgency. It's like punk was invented because it was like this thing. It was this energy everyone was feeling, and it's like, no, we have this message, and we have this energy, and we have to deliver this right now, you know. And like when a band half-asses that, it's just like, it just comes across as so ungenuine and so shitty. It's like, why are you even playing punk? Like, you may as well just be playing like in some fucking Steely Dan cover band or something, because like this is fucking boring, dude. It's like, and that's like, and like going back, like that's why hardcore happened, is because those punk bands, like, they stopped losing that energy and that feeling, and so it, you know, it got reignited again with hardcore. And then like the worst thing is seeing hardcore bands who do that, because it's like, man, like you're playing really fast and you're coming across as like aggressive, but I can tell that, you know, there's just not that energy there. They don't give a shit, and it's like, man, stop, like just stop playing. Why are you even doing this? Like, you know, just to like, you know, give you background to like your drinking or whatever, you know, not to bash anybody who drinks, but, you know, it's like, I feel like, you know, music should be first, and then like anything else is second, you know, rather than like, oh, this band is just a backdrop to, you know, like getting wasted or just hanging out and like doing whatever, you know. Like I feel like that's when a band becomes becomes kind of posing, when they stop, you know, going for it, you know, and giving that energy and giving their all into it. When they start half-assing it, that's when they start getting away, in my opinion.
So I want to come back to the message aspect of punk. What kind of message are you and your bands aiming for? Is there a specific like political notion you're going after, or community notion you're going after?
I would say it's largely community for us, because, you know, there was this quote, I forget who said it. It may have been a band I actually saw that came through one time, and they said, you know, you can't smash the state with a 7-inch. And I really thought about that, because I grew up listening to a lot of like really hyper political punk, and I love it, and I feel like it's very relevant and extremely great, but I could never write political songs. But the bands that really connected with me most were bands like the Descendants, who were singing about, like, you know, everybody at school like shitting on them and them feeling like awful, but still getting through their day and still having something to fight for, and like I like the more community, I guess, kind of thing behind it. And that's what I realized is, like, yeah, maybe a 7-inch can't smash the state, but it can make some kid somewhere not feel so isolated and alone for feeling different than everybody else. And that's kind of what we go for. Politically, I would say just the politics of the area, the politics of Chico, the like huge like drinking culture and stuff like that, which again, like, we have tons of friends who drink or smoke pot or whatever, but it's like, you know, it's that anti-obsession. It's like, don't let your life turn into this thing where it's like you're working every day of the week and then you drink all weekend to forget about it, and then you wake up and you go to work again all week and then you drink to forget about it, and it's like pretty soon your life is fucking over, you know? Or anything in the area, you know? It's like, I had a lot of friends growing up in a small town who you know, before they even graduated high school, I'd see them on the streets pushing a baby stroller and stuff, you know, because they got trapped by the area they were in, and they didn't have any outlet. They didn't have anybody speaking to them and be like, no, it's okay, I feel that way too, we can get out of this, we can create something more, like, and so they fell into that escapist, you know, idea of things. And you know, punk, you could argue that punk and what we do is escapist in a way too, but it's like, I like to think that it's at least positive. It's saying like, hey, like, you don't have to drink. Like, if you do, that's cool, but like, don't turn it into an obsession, man. You know, it's not judging you. It's like, you know, like, hey, you don't have to fall into this. It's like, you know, and also speaking to, you know, like a lot of the sexism and like homophobia in the area, you know, it's like, you know, like, there's lots of, like, pretty much every female friend I have, like, has felt at one point or another, you know, fear for being raped just walking down the streets of Chico. And that's a huge, like, that's fucking awful. That's horrifying, and that's something me as a man I don't have to deal with. But it's like, you know, we can as a community come together and be like, hey, this is wrong, we need to change this, you know. So I guess if there's a political aspect, it's that, but it's speaking to the community and the politics of this specific area. It's not saying, like, you know, as broadly, like, you know, hey, like, what we're doing, you know, overseas is fucked up, you know, because there's a lot of bands who are saying that, and they're talking about it in a lot better words than I can. So it's like, I can speak to the kids here and the kids now, and I think that's kind of what we aim for as a community.
What are your favorite songs in each band? Are there any plans for any recent or upcoming releases with any of your bands?
Yeah, actually, Criminal Wave is about to drop some shit. We recorded a full length plus an EP, and so that is, we're waiting on. We got a couple of offers, I think, or a couple possibilities to release it on vinyl, and we eventually want to release that on vinyl. But by summer, at the very least, our full length for Criminal Wave, titled Rural Savages, is going to be pressed on tape, as well as the Santa Carla EP, which has Dark Waves on it. And so there's that. Let's see what else. Mr. Bang, we're probably gonna record again soon. Strange Ones just dropped a demo, but we haven't put it up yet. We have it in CD form, but we haven't, which is weird because normally we do tapes. But so we're gonna probably put that up on Bandcamp soon. Yeah, like the whole Vexed Real Monsoon thing just dropped, but I think Criminal Wave right now is the one that's really, like, that's the one that's we're gonna release a lot of stuff. And then even before we go on tour in June, we're also gonna record another small EP of just like straight up like our like brand new songs. We're doing really a lot with that band, and I'm really stoked about it. So
can you maybe give us any, you know, sneak peeks on the content of the lyrics or the music before it drops?
Yeah, the album Rural Savages is really lyrically heavy. Like, it's really like that song, or not that song, well, yeah, that song, because Rural Savages is the title track, but that whole album is really a lot of like personal struggle and like feelings of isolation or feelings of anxiety and stuff like that. There are a couple less serious songs, but even the less serious songs are like really delivered in a heavy way. And then the Dark Waves EP is the same way. Like, Dark Waves is a silly song. It's like lyrically anyway, it's about like like being called by these waves in this like fjord in like the Netherlands or wherever to like, you know, paddle out, and it's like this demonic, you know, like surf set that's like trying to kill you and like take your soul, but it's still really heavy, like, and Santa Carla too, the song, you know, that EP gets its name from, is like about the Lost Boys, but it's still really heavy. So that I mentioned that EP that we're recording before we go on tour that we're just gonna release, like it's just like a summer EP, whatever. That is just gonna be like way more chill. Like it's gonna be more just like about like skating and just having a good time with your friends and stuff. Like definitely a good like summer jam like album to listen to. So yeah, I guess like we're really, because we all decided like after we finished recording Real Savages and Dark, like the Santa Carla EP, we're just like, okay, like let's chill out for a bit and just like figure out, you know, some more like less heavy jams, that way we can break it up a little bit, you know. So yeah.
And I just have one more question for
Okay.
you. And it's mostly for anyone who watches. Could you possibly give us some tour dates or places that you're going to be?
Yeah, totally. Let's see, we're planning on some shows in Reading soon. So like house shows. So those like just like Criminal Wave playing. So those definitely you're gonna have to like keep watch on like the Reading Chico area hardcore events page or the Jefferson Hardcore group on Facebook. But Criminal Wave is shooting out on tour in June, and I believe that's going to be the 9th through like the 18th or 19th or something. I know it's like a 10-day tour, so it's going to be around there, and that you can find that on the Criminal Wave page. I should have it memorized, but I don't. We are kind of focusing on playing more like out of the area, so we are going to be playing some Bay shows and stuff soon. Gorilla Monsoon is actually on the 24th. We're going down to play Burnt Ramen in Richmond, which is going to be sick. So yeah, as far as playing in the area though, it really is like sometimes it's like, you know, a week in advance we're playing the show. I know next Sunday, I don't know if this will be out by then, but this upcoming Sunday we're playing at a new venue that we landed right next to the Senator Theater here in Chico. It's going to be Gorilla Monsoon is playing with Safe and Sound, which is a youth crew band touring down from like Washington. So that's going to be pretty cool. We're doing a lot. We do not plan at all on slowing down. Like, I'm going to be working most of the summer, but even then we're going to be, that just means because I work in Bernie's, so we're probably going to be playing like more Reading shows because it's like right in the middle. So we're going to be playing around a lot. So definitely just like keep an eye out, and yeah, we're going to be doing it. So we will bring it to you. And also if you have a venue, that's all ages, like, and you want us to play, hit us up and we will play pretty much anytime. If it's far enough in advance, we will come and play. So house, living room, empty swimming pool, wherever, we will come and play. So yeah.
All right, well, that sounds good.
All right, this has been FusionPit Presents. I'm Alec.
And I'm Jordan.
You guys are awesome. Make sure you give Tommy's bands a checkup. Stay metal.